The Rugby World Cup is finally underway, and what a first weekend of action it has been. While the French organisers did their best to get the hearts racing with an opening ceremony that featured a man on a bicycle and another man dressed like a cock, the drama of the opening performance was greatly overshadowed by one of the most exhilarating fixtures in the world, France versus New Zealand, and boy did it deliver. With England, Argentina, South Africa, Scotland and Wales, Fiji all on the cards this weekend, it certainly shaped up to be an absolute blinder. I'm Benny from Catch-22 Rugby, and we take a look at all the action from the first round of the Rugby World Cup 2023. France 27, New Zealand 13, Pool A. We have to start with arguably the most high-profile game of the weekend, the opening fixture of New Zealand versus France. While World Cups traditionally start off with the host nation playing, the fixtures are usually made up of easier games where the hosts usually go in as favourites. Japan versus Russia, England, Fiji and New Zealand versus Tonga all spring to mind. So when it was announced that the French would play the mighty All Blacks on opening night, heads turned. The All Blacks came out strong. Ioane broke deep into the French half within the first few seconds, eventually leading to a Barrett cross kick from Artelea, who touched down for the opening score of the night. France steadied the early nerves through the boot of Thomas Ramos, who kicked France to a 9-8 lead by the half-time whistle. Telea was once again repeating his try-scoring antics in the second half. The score on the 43rd minute took the Kiwis ahead once again, but it was the French who began settling into the game. Despite an incredible try-saving effort from Richie Mwanga to thwart Penaud in the corner, Penaud answered back 2 minutes later with a score in the very same corner he was previously denied in. The introduction of Melvin Hamane in the latter stages proved profitable for France as he tidied up a through kick in the 77th minute, scoring a try mere minutes after entering the game. His follow-up conversion split opinion with the touchline officials, but it was eventually ruled out. It mattered nonetheless. France kicked off their home World Cup with a huge statement of intent, adding to their list of famous World Cup victories against the All Blacks. Italy 52, Namibia 8, Pool A. The Azzurri were in no mood to mess around against the World Cup minnows Namibia. Canone and Garbisi followed up an early Tommaso penalty with 2 tries in the first 15 minutes. Namibia did get into the game in places with a try in the first half, but Italy turned on the afterburners come the second half. 5-second 40 tries blew Namibia out of the water, with the likes of Ange Capuzzo and Monty Ioane showing their talents on the wings. A late try from former England caller Bodogwu took the score beyond the half-century mark. Harlequins man Tommaso Allen impressed with a 100% display from the kicking tee, but it was the first try scorer Lorenzo Keone who picked up player of the match. Michel Amara also impressed with a haul of 19 tackles throughout the game. With Uruguay having their bye in the first round, Pool A is as follows. Italy sit top of the table, having cast aside Namibia on the scoreboard, with France taking up second spot after a victory against the Kiwis. New Zealand sit fourth, having lost their first ever group game in the 37-year history of the World Cup, but expect them to come fighting back in round 2 as they take on poor Namibia in Toulouse. South Africa 18, Scotland 3, Pool B. The reigning champions kicked off their campaign in Marseille, overcoming a spirited Scotland side in this year's group of death. The game started off with controversy as Jesse Creel collided high with Jack Dempsey, drawing comparisons to a red card in the England-Argentina game earlier in the weekend. The game continued on. Manny Libbok opened the score via a penalty after the Scotsman Finn Russell was deemed to illegally knock the ball on. Libbok doubled his account a few minutes later, but Scotland responded in style. In something you seldom see, the men in blue pushed the box back in the scrum to secure a penalty in front of the post. Finn Russell took the 3 on the stroke of half-time to make the game 6-3 at the half. Peter Steph du Toit got the South Africans off to the perfect start in the second half, getting over the whitewash for his first try of the game. Manny Libbok continued to pull the strings, this time providing the perfect crossfield kick for Aaron Suhr to score in the corner. Scotland may feel the pressure following this loss, as they'll almost have to overcome tournament favourites Ireland to progress out of the group. But full credit goes to South Africa, who won this arm wrestle clinically and effectively. Ireland 82, Romania 8, Pool B. It couldn't happen, could it? Could the #1 team in the world be undone by a plucky Romanian side in Bordeaux? Well, the Romanians tore up the script in the first 2 minutes as they took the lead thanks to a great try from Gabriel Rapuno. The rugby world was in shock. Bookies began withdrawing bets on 250-1 outsiders Romania, Ireland fans were inconsolable, and the IRB began etching Romania's name into the Web Ellis Cup. But Romania were rudely awakened from their dreams by Jameson Gibson Park try just 90 seconds later. The floodgates well and truly opened as Ireland responded as you'd expect from the world #1 side. Despite a scary moment for Irish fans that saw Johnny Sexton get up gingerly following a rolling of the wrist, it was pretty much a perfect day in the office for the four provinces. Tadhg Beirne, Peter O'Mahony, Bundyaki and Sexton all picked up double tries as the men in green strolled to a 12-try victory, narrowly missing out on the biggest ever winning record. Pacific Islanders Tonga take a bye into this week's fixtures as the group of death standing starts to take place. South Africa take the driving seat for qualification, seeing off a Scotland side ranked 5th in the world. Ireland sit top of the group, but sterner tests await as the Irish stroll past the weakest side in the toughest group at this World Cup. Australia 35, Georgia 15. Pool C. The Aussies followed their Tasman counterparts New Zealand by kicking off their campaign with a try in the opening 3 minutes. Jordan Petaia got the Wallabies off to the perfect start, which was followed up by another try a few minutes later. On the 9th minute, Mark Namwangakitawazi picked up an offload from Petaia to collect Australia's second. Georgia's Ivanishvili kicked off the second half with a try down the flanks to show that his Georgia side could still have some sway on proceedings in Pool C. But Australia closed the lid on any Georgian revival. Despite some interesting debate over his position prior to the match, Australia's Ben Donald made the fullback jersey his own with an inspired performance. 3 penalties, 3 conversions and 2 second-half tries took his point tally to over 25 in the afternoon as he picked up player of the match. Georgia leave Paris licking their wounds, looking to cause problems against Wales and Fiji further down the line. Wales 32, Fiji 26. Pool C. It all came down to one final knock-on. In arguably the most tense and exciting game of the weekend, an undercooked Wales took on arguably pool favourites Fiji, who entered the competition hot on form after beating England a few weeks ago. Wales looked to dampen the Fijian flair early on as the Welshman's game management kept Fiji at bay. An early Rollins Jackal let Biggar open the score with his boot before Josh Adams slid into the corner mere minutes later. Fiji responded the only way they know how: flair. Now Clevu broke through 2 defenders to reply in style with a score before Tagivalue took the lead for Fiji, getting on the end of a Andrade offload. George North brought the score back in Wales' favour as he picked up a line through the middle of the park, sidestepping under the post to make the game 18-14 at the half. But Wales did appear rattled. Biggar was actually seen dressing down George North of all people mere moments before the halftime whistle. Wales did respond well in the second half, as tries from Lewis Rees-Zammit and Elliot Dee seemed to put Wales out of reach with 15 minutes left on the clock. But that's where Fiji turned things around. With both teams receiving yellow cards, the Islanders took momentum, needing 3 scores in the last few minutes to make this a comeback for the history books. The first score came from Tuisova, and it appeared the second try had come moments later, only for it to be ruled out for a double movement. With Fiji battering the line and Wales' penalty count racking, they eventually got the second score needed through former Dragons man Misaka Doge. 2 minutes left, 1 converted try needed for Fiji to take the game. The clock had gone red and Fiji burst at the pitch. 10 phases had passed and Fiji saw their moment. Tuisova, Sika and Rendraja completely open up on the wing, but the former Bristol man knocked the ball on with an empty Wales try line gaping in front of him. As for the table, the Australians take the early top spot in Pool C, with Wales' great escape against the Fijians placing them into second. Fiji may feel hard done by having secured 2 losing bonus points via a close loss and tries scored. They're very much not out of proceedings when it comes to qualification in this group. Portugal kick off their World Cup campaign in round 2 against Wales. England 27, Argentina 10. Pool D. England were going into this World Cup with dark clouds above their heads. Their poor form had brought the World Cup ambitions into question, with some even suggesting they could exit at the group stages. But they truly put their doubters to shame with a game management masterclass over a promising Argentinian side who imploded despite having a man advantage for the majority of the game. Just 2 minutes into the game, Curry went in high on Juan Cruz Malia, who was dropping from a high ball collect. A yellow card was produced under review, which shortly turned into a red. Shivers set in across the nation as the reality set in. England would have to overcome a well-fancied Los Pumas side with just 14 men pretty much all game. Shivers that were completely lost on George Ford. In a performance that would have made Johnny Wilkinson proud, Ford implemented a New England game plan around kicking points at every opportunity and sucking the life out of Argentina's attack. George Ford secured 6 penalties, a hat-trick of drop goals in a man-of-the-match performance that also saw him top meters made and carries across the game line. Argentina would be left wondering what happened in a game they should have excelled in, but ultimately fell apart. A consolation try at the death was the only real positive in a terrible night for the Argentinians in Marseille. Japan 42, Chile 12. Pool D. A team that shocked the Rugby World Cup 4 years ago against a team that shocked the Rugby World Cup qualifications this year. Japan were favourites going into a game against World Cup debutants Chile, but an air of mystery surrounded this unknown entity of Chilean rugby. They had after all knocked out both USA and Canada during qualification, so who knows? Maybe they could sneak a win against a Japanese side who are lacking in form. Chile even got off to a great start through their talisman fly half Rodrigo Fernandez, scoring an opportunistic try off a Japanese knockback. But ultimately, the Cherry Blossoms turned on the wow factor to gain a 6-try victory over the debutants. Matsuda maintained 100% kicking record as the Japanese hit 40+ points, but the star player in this fixture was Amato Fakatawa, crossing the line twice for his country. Pool D sees Japan climb highest after round 1, with England's heroic display on Friday night securing them 2nd spot for now. With Samoa taking the bye this week, they'll look to kick off strong against Chile in Bordeaux. And that's our roundup. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Benny from Catch 22. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.